Welcome everybody. This Metatron deck read was so profound today, so I probably am going to give it to you separately than the Union and the Twin Flame read today. There's a lot of symbology here, or symbolism, and yeah, a lot of shapes stuff that came up. Yeah, but it's very cool. So I would stay tuned for this Metatron read. It's very, very cool. Like, it felt very profound for me every step of the way. So I'm going to get right into it. Today is the 8th of January. The 8 is the dance of the manifestation of dreams. It's that inner and outer strength. And the day adds up to 15, which is the shadow, which is a 6, which is also about love, family, and community, but it's that shadow side of your day-to-day life. So we have strength and the devil card basically today. And it's very beautiful and sunny out. I actually went for a jog today. I woke up in a really good place. I got a little bit teary-eyed. Just energy. The energy that came up was missing my twin, but I also was getting from that. I was asking my inner child, so what's the energy from my childhood that was coming up in relation to that? And it was coming up as the father without time for you. Okay, so what's weighing on your inner child was the first thing that came up in this read, and specifically from that was coming up that father doesn't have time for you. And then you have to look at the opposite side of the scale, which is someone who may be too clingy or overbearing for you, right? The two polar opposites that neither one are actually good for you. And then father time and mother space came up, but we'll get into that in just a second. I want to tell you the basics of the read first. So this was done at 11:11, actually from 11:10 into 11:11, aligning there from Metatron. The underlying energy, the bottom of the deck, was reflecting with the number 2, which is the High Priestess and the Divine Feminine, or just the Feminine is number 2 as well. And underneath that was the inner child of the 36, which is the Atlas energy of the weight of the world, and then action, which is the Hermit running, so taking a jog, moving your body, getting that stuck energy out of you. So the underlying energy was the reflection of the feminine, and the first card out was duality of the masculine. The King of Swords the King of Wands comes up again as 23 in duality, which was funny because I normally pull 18 cards for this read, and sometimes I'll pull a 19th. I include the underlying energies, so it's 12. It's actually 21 cards I normally do. So it's actually 26 cards today, which is the Page of Wands and the King of Wands without the underlying energy. So it's very much that wand energy. But in this deck, the duality cards is 23, which is the King of Wands, which comes up as the off-balanced energy, which is when the man of passion gets too passionate, because passion is ego plus inspiration. It's not just the purity of inspiration, and it can become too much. So with those energies going forward, and the colors that came up here were silver and green. Yeah. Silver and green. I don't think there's any elements here. Yeah, no elements today. So just silver and green, which is unusual that there's no elements or so few colors. And the silver will come up in the read, and so will the green. Of course, the green is the heart chakra. And the green of nature, which comes up in the read as well. So the underlying energy is what's weighing on your inner child. And like I told you already, father doesn't have time for you. So father time is coming up, and mother space. And being hyper-focused on the 4D, which is time-space continuum, and that if time-space is infinite, the father-mother will never have free space for you. Okay? So there was movement needed to get that stuck energy out for the Hermit, and then the energy of reviewing and reflecting the Divine Feminine High Priestess with a time out to toggle up, to meditate, needed in the purple moon, which purple moon is now representing when the light of the moon hits the dark of the sky, you get that purple moon, which is the energy of light to dark, or the 0 point energy. So where the dark meets light, or 1-to-1, being able to see both sides at once. The first card of the King of Wands being off balance here in duality, and the Mother Earth grounding that's needed. And the ice cube comes up in this picture, as you see in the read here. So I'm going to show you. So in this card, it's hard to see here, but there's an ice cube on the field right here. And this is the King of Wands of that imbalance that's coming up. And there's a really great picture of that purple moon energy in the moon card here, which is the 2. And it goes from the 9 to the 2, which was significant because 1-to-1 and 9-to-9 were coming up in the read, which has to do with that 1 and the all, but also the hermiting within, right? And the all of the collective consciousness as well, and 1-to-1 of that, and the 1-to-1 of the 1-to-9, the 1 to all and all for 1. And that all comes up here. So the movement's needed to move your body, get that stuck energy out, review and reflect in a time out or meditation, toggling up, needed in this purple moon where dark meets light, 1-to-1, being able to see both sides at once, with the King of Wands off balance in duality, and Mother Earth grounding that's needed. And I actually went outside when I wrote this down to put my feet in the ice cold snow in the ground and get my sun in the eyes, which felt really good actually. So, and of course the man of passion is very hot, and here we have that polarity of the mother being very cold and the grounding that's needed when there's too much heat. And then at 11:28, which is the justice and the twin flames of the 28, the choice of path. And by the way, the 25 or the Knight of Wands was coming up earlier when movement was needed for the hermit. And that's that very inspired energy of like the King of Wands. That would be the action he would take as the Knight of Wands. So I stepped outside for a little bit for grounding support. And then I was also reminded to use my ice packs and put them in on my back while I was doing my read, because it was really helping me last week when I was doing that every morning as I did my read. And so the purple moon comes up here with the number 18, but also the 2, as I'm losing my voice. The purple moon, this one here, this card here is number 2. And then this one is number 9, where the girl's jogging there. And so that energy of then going from the King of Wands, 23 here, and then the 18 of the moon. So the 18 on this deck is here, not on the moon, what looks like the moon card. It's actually on this card. So I always get confused as to what the message is supposed to be, which is great because then it expands me to something new. So here the purple moon, but then the 18 on the other card of the grounding energy of the cold, of the feminine energy, the 1-to-1 of the dark and light, but also the 9-to-9 of the 2 hermits facing each other, and the 1 for all and all for 1. The 2 is coming up, we're getting again the circle and the cube, right? Because the circle is the feminine. In alchemy, she is the shape, and the masculine is the change of the triangle. But in this case, it's coming up as the circle and the square, of the masculine being the square and the feminine being the circle rather, and that being the feminine 3 and the masculine 4. And so what came up here was the 2 of the feminine being the circle of the human embodiment of source energy, or the ball, the sphere, and the 18 was coming up as the cube, which normally you wouldn't associate the masculine with the 18. But remember, with a ball, there's no sides. It's just a round thing. There's no points or sides or faces on it. It's just one round ball. That's the feminine energy. The cube, the ice cube, is coming up here as the example to show the faces, right? So there's not just 4 faces on a cube like the 4 sides of a square, right? The cube has actually 6 faces because it has a top and a bottom as well. So this was coming up as the 6 faces, the 8 points, and the 12 sides or lines that connect the points in a cube. And then the energy of, so the 2 is playing off the 18, which 2 times 9 of the hermit equals that 18, but also then 2 times 9 was coming up here regarding that. And also the 3 coming up, right, because 3 times 6 is 18, and the 6 faces. And the 8 as the points is coming up as the dance between, right? The 0 point energy kind of thing, right? Because the 0 point is like the top of the pyramid where all the lines come together. So the point is that is being referenced as that 0 point in multiple spots, though, on the cube. So then we have the Atlas energy of the Hermit, right? Because the first card out, what's weighing on you, child? This energy here, this card, and that's number 36, which is the Atlas energy. So the Atlas Hermit, number 2 of the feminine, with the King of Wands, purple moon, and 2 balls fitting into a cube or a box, but you can't fit 2 balls of the same, right? So if you're comparing one circle to one square, you can't here because you can't fit that same type size circle into that square if you're going to try to put 2 in the box, right? Because then if you want to put all the same size balls into the box, it then has to be 8 balls to be not just 4 balls to make the square, but 8 balls to make the cube. So if so you either have to make the balls 8 smaller balls to fit them all in that box, right, with no space, no like general space in an even way, or you have to make 2 as 1. You either have to make 2 balls become 1 in order to fit that big ball in the box. So then we have the energy of the 2 8s standing next to each other, because the 4 circles or 2 8s next to each other is that energy of the square with the 4 circles in it. But if it's a cube, there's 4 more circles behind the 8 8. So then there's 4 sets of 8s, or 4 8s rather. So there's 4 circles, 2 plus 2 in a cube, and then there are 8, unless you squeeze the balls that are slightly bigger into a diagonal, but then you wouldn't be able to fit 2 other balls in it of the same size because there's not enough room. So the only way it really works in an even way is those 8 littler balls. And so this is referencing the energy of the cube. We can get 2 balls in there like an 8 on a diagonal inside the box, but then there's lots of space left over. So there's 2 for fields, or in other words, the 2D square is that 2 by 2 equals 4. You can put 4 balls in that box. But if it's 3D and it's actually a box and not a square, then it's 4 by 4, which is then 16. And it was describing them as fields here. So we're going from 2D of the square to the 3D, or 3-dimensional, of the 16 balls in a box. The 4D then involves what you can't see, right? Because the 4th dimension may be a side that you can't see that's not actually the same as the other sides that you are seeing in your 3D vision. One side might be different than the others, or in other words, uneven. In the 5D, we lose time and space, or the ability to see. We have the ability to see right through them, so we don't need to know what's on the other side because we can actually see it because it's transparent to us, and your psychic abilities are on board. So follow the signs and birds and squirrels, losing a few feathers now, or maybe you're losing a few hairs, with emotional fulfillment and family support that's natural, which has to do with nature and green, and nature, your nature family, like the birds and the animals and the trees, with messages of love from those trees and the animals and the birds in a sine wave hello. When you're off balance, to project forward when falling back, like daylight savings, so to speak, in energetic exchange back and forth with gratitude and healing at 11:57, which is justice and the 3 of swords. That's separation from self, going from alignment to malalignment. So wake up to that 11 of alignment with truth and balance. Listen to song, but also each note or tone, and what resonates with your instrument. There's a new dawn welcoming you back every day, and this was right at noon at 12:00. Double zeros are source supporting that hanging man and new perspectives. The number 12 on the nose, or the bridge of the nose from eye to eye, while supporting the third eye above, which becomes a triangle, the third eye to the 2 eyes. And then the nose is also a triangle. From the peak to the nostrils, it's a triangle. And then the mouth is 2 triangles, right, facing each other like the masculine and feminine, opening and closing. trying the angles in the egg head, because your head is shaped like an egg, and the egg womb, which reflects the head. And then Charlie Brown coming up, and Lucy in the sky with diamonds, because Charlie Brown is the earth or ground, and Lucy in the sky with diamonds is up in the sky, right? And then Charlie is broken down as char and lie, which is something burnt, and the lie, or the substance lie that eats away at him, or the lie about the destruction of the char and the burn. But Lucy, or Lou, sees each tone, actually seeing the L-U-C-Y, the love you see, at the Y in the road, or 0 point, which is the circle with the dot in the middle. Because remember, the Y is the peak of the pyramid. And if you have more than 3 lines coming into that peak, and it becomes infinite, then there's no lines at all anymore, and it becomes just a circle with a dot in the middle. That is the 0 point. The tip of the iceberg, or the pyramid. The pyramid is the Pi Ram ID, the beginning of the astrological chart, the human's path around that astrological chart or wheel. But is it actually a circle? Or is that astrological wheel actually a diamond? Perhaps with light reflecting, or bridges or arcs from point to point, and that's what makes you think it's a circle, but it's actually a diamond, or 2 triangles pushed together. Maybe since we like to put balls into boxes, above they like to put diamonds in spheres. The love you see at 0 point with square Charlie Brown, when Lucy points out that the earth is round, but there's no point in telling him with a block in his head. He can't get to 0 point with the great Molly Brown, the great unsinkable Molly Brown around, who's very surface oriented. The sun burns if you get too much or too close, but the distant rays of the sun are amazing for us. So 2 suns must radiate at the same heat to be in close proximity, or all their rays will be washed right over their heads, and under, and side, and the other side as well. When a mass gets in the way, the energy, air, and water, they just go around. They keep going with the flow. The path to the sun, or in other words, hell, because if you get too close to the sun, you're going to get burned. The path to the sun, or hell, in other words, because you will burn to a crisp, is unending, close but never nearing the end, or in other words, the 11th hour. This is life, until it isn't this life anymore. Ashes to ashes, solution, makes lie to lie, something alkaline and yet caustic, neutralizing and yet irritating at the same time. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Dust is the opposite of, instead of DU, it's PU path. The opposite of that, which is a stinky path, is dust, which is the DU path. Is no path at all, and that smells great. And you can cross it at any point in the field. It doesn't have to be a specific path. Ashes to ashes equals, in Pleiadian, bright light to bright light, sun to sun, and the bridge between at 1232, which is the Hanging Man and the Journey of the 6 of Wands. Sun to sun and the bridge between, the dance of the bright lights, sharing the spotlight in flickering brilliance, crossing paths until they click and stick, and then there's no going back. So, and I might actually show you, when I'm finished the read, I might actually show you the whole page on each page so you can actually see all the symbolism that I was trying to show you, because that might make it more clear to you. So remembering now, when we're looking at the circle with a dot in the middle, assume that that is the top of the human head, because that's coming up now. So in flickering brilliance, crossing paths until they click and stick and no going back, each with an auto-cooling mechanism inside. And it's called the Divine Feminine. when the King of Wands' ego gets the best of him. The sword and the purple moon. The sword is the axis and the rotational pull, or the axle and the pull of the open road. The circle with the dot in the middle is that 0 point, the crown at the top of the head. It equals the top of the human's head where Excalibur enters, right? The finger of God, where Excalibur enters, a shock to the system, the chakra system, but it's also a jump start when the battery or heart is weak. The finger of God tapping into you, the touchstone, the Creator's source or sword in you, stone or purple moon, 0 point field of entry, the silver warrior of light at 1247, which is the hanging man, and your signs and synchronicities, or perhaps heaven in your eyes. And then the card was coming up as 30 Union Street. So we can tell it a little more clear. So let's see. Yeah, so that card, this is that card here. Let's see if I can get it in the picture, right? So you see the sword and the moon, okay? So this is coming up as, it's written as the silver warrior of light, number 30, and 30 is the union. Where's the 30? I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, it looks like another kind of shape. But anyway, it's 30, which is the union energy or the house. And it was then coming up as 30 Union Street, which union is un-ion, which means to disconnect. So 30 Disconnect Street, or disconnecting from the wounded warrior's path, to go home, which is the 3 of the mother, the source supporting the mother, the sun bringing new sources home to his mother via the rays, that you are the message in the bottle. Your soul and your body are here to communicate and be free. So speak up and be heard, or heard like a group of cows, like being one of the collective, each with a voice, each note. It's not just the song, it's both the song and the voice, each a collective representative of the whole. Detach from drama and look up. The King of Cups here to release your conditions of love. At 12:53, the Hanging Man and the Knight of Swords, the Messenger of Truth, or perhaps the Knight in Shining Armor. The sun rises each day to blur the horizon line, right? So there's not so much separation there that divide the sun and Gaia Mother. The sun reaches far and wide with the rays, but they're always coming or emanating from its source, his seed father. Ray and Charles, the burnt or the charred in Charles, and lied, and our oi-ness, the human embodiment of source at the Y in the road, which is coming up as Roy. Roy and Charles, the burnt or charred and lied, and the our oi-ness, the human embodiment of source at the Y in the road, the 0 point, where all paths lead home to and including the horizon. Horizon is the whore eyes on. Seeing Mary Magdalene, the divine feminine eyes, in the blending from here to there. The compassion sent to you at the end of each day in that sunset on the horizon. From fall to winter, leaves to snow, letting go of control as she sheds, going back to the roots of the mother. So you see the parallel of the rays of the sun going back to the father of the source, and here is the flowers of the divine feminine in the spring, basically, which will come up in a second, going back to the roots of the mother Gaia. Pulsing out to birth, bloom, and grow, and then pulsing back to wither and die. Breathing in to be born, and then breathing your last breath out to die. The charge, or in other words, char and GE, which is burnt energy. It never dies, it just changes, and then the char becomes CHANGE. It changes to something else, and the CHAN is the projection, the image board, the channeling, the free space, the open land, as opposed to that path. the snake of the kundalini, the bell, the vagina, the entryways, the song, the Khan of the leader of the masculine, and the dog who's always loyal and faithful. To learn at or to one's house or home. Those are the changes. So instead of burning, and by the way, Chan is also pouring liquid over a solid, which again is referencing the liquid of the feminine over the solid of the masculine, the circle and the square, and the projection here. So instead of burning mass energy like we do in the 3D, in the 5D we're now channeling energy, projecting energy with free space and expansive land. At 111, the snake energy, the kundalini energy, and the Khan energy of the king, right? The vagina, the song, the dog energies, to learn at or to one's house or home, pouring sauce or juice or liquid over food or solid. The circle and the cube, the 3 and the 4, the feminine and the masculine, the 3 and the 4 equals the 7 in the end, which is the chariot containing all it needs. The feminine within the masculine in the chariot ascending, and also the infiltrate. It's like able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Able to infiltrate at 114, which is the magician and the temperance card of the angel and the higher love. Able to infiltrate any and all situations or energies that need to change. So going from the charge to the change. It's time to release. 4, release, which is referring to the masculine's release of the emperor, where the sun is not the center of attention, because now we're in winter. Like the divine feminine, when the flowers have bloomed, and then it gets too hot in the summer for some, the divine feminine needs to let go of control of trying to water them. Let nature take its course. From 3 to 4, which is then March and April, spring to 7 of July, which July is the Jew and the lie, and also is Jesus, you lie, or July. The chariot's manipulation to the Trojan horse, its way in. Like Christmas in July is the Jew's lie, it's referencing to Jesus as the Jew, the Jew's lie because it's Sophie's choice in July. July's Yule tides at the Y in the road, where December is December, right? So D is of, but Sem has to do with the cemetery, being next to the 100 with lots of source energy behind the 1 of the magician, and the room. That's Ber at the end. That's December and October and November because they're cold. So of the cemetery that's really cold, or being next to the 100, which is the end, right? Because 99 is just before the end, and then you have the 100 room. That's really cold. All the Ber months cooling off of Augustus's hot graduation at Lionsgate, where the septum is 7 with added chill becoming September, and the octo is the 8 with a chill becomes October, and of course November, which is the 9 with a chill at Ber, preparing for the fresh, young, and new, the altar of change in November, that 11/11 energy, to let go of the December or the D-cemetery preserved very well in the ice cold. January and February are the extra months actually of 11 and 12, since September, October, and November are actually 7, 8, 9, not 9, 10, and 11. And January and February coming up is 11 and 12, which we're in January now, is the Janu, which is a thirst for any year, it's like an open-ended energy here, where thirst is created, and rejection as well. The spleen and the bee come up here, as well as the being weary of this thirst, or thirst gone awry, oblique, distorted, perverse, crooked, amiss. And then February even worse, because now the thirst becomes a fever for the same. The thirst becomes feverish to get out of the winter and into the sun again at 135, which is the magician, and the 35 of that wounded warrior's path. So allow the fall into winter and go with the flow, 1 to 1 and 9 to 9, the cycles of 1 through 9, and raising them an octave in numerology, the 10, 11, 12 is raising them up in vibrational energy. So it's basically bringing up the same notes to a higher vibration. With thirst and fever, or in other words, heat from within as opposed to the sun from without, becoming inspired. With big bird, that's you according to the birds. They see humans as like them, except much bigger and kind of funny looking to them. So we have big bird, and I'm going to show you that picture too, of the triangle. Where are you, big bird? Here we go. So this is the big bird energy here, okay? So you see the bottom is just the triangle of the body and the wings. So that's the birds are seeing you as this. They see you as light with wings in a triangle type thing, like from your hips to your crown. You are the rainbow triangle there. So in allowing this energy and being inspired as big bird, which comes up as the Queen of Swords here at 138, which is the magician of the Queen of Cups, that Mary Magdalene energy. Big bird is the Queen of Swords with her priorities, right, getting down to business as the swords energy, with the rainbow bridge from her hips to the crown and golden wings that come together at the 0-point toroidal field, the toroidal field of the human body, the building blocks for life. So we're not finished here yet. Then it goes into one from the 38, goes into the 39 to 40, which is the Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups. And so we have the one of the magician activating the Knight of Cups and the Page of Cups, that really pure innocent love and the action of being love. The green heart, healing of heart to heart. The Knight of Cups and the King of Cups here in this read, in endings with the big bird between them. So the Knight of Cups Emerald Heart is held in the sunset at the end of the day. So instead of coming up with your ancestors in this one, it's saying that your twin is reflecting back at you, untying the knots in the electromagnetic grid. Or in other words, Imana, which is what the Pleiadians call their god, and I know Elena spells it with an I, but I spell it with an E, Imana. And so the electromagnetic grid comes up as EM, which is M, which is short for Imana. This is Imana's field of view. Two diamonds overlapped like the Vesica Pisces circles, but they're circles instead of diamonds. So this is what it was showing me, and I'm going to show you why this came up. So I'm going to show you the electromagnetic field. This is the card that they have in this deck for the electromagnetic field that I get anyway. So this is what it says on the card, so you can see that. Karma and untying the knots, and it's number 28 for the twins, and then showing you the electromagnetic field out in space, okay? So that was coming up, and I was looking at the shape and realizing that that's the diamond of the Vesica Pisces. So I don't know, it's on close up here, so I don't know how well you're going to see this, but there's the picture of the diamond within the Vesica Pisces that parallels to that. Okay, you see that? And you see how you also see the fish of Jesus in the middle of the two circles, which is traditional in the Vesica Pisces, but also you see how it's the toroidal field and how the energy is coming up on either end to continue the flower of life as the steepled doorway. Okay, so I just wanted you to get an energy of what that looks like. And also notice that the circles around the diamonds that I talked about, maybe you're just seeing the arcs of light flashing from corner to corner of the diamond. Okay, as human beings. So I'm going to show you that again. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So maybe you're seeing a circle because the light that's coming off this grid is actually emanating in an arc like that, right? And then these are the steeples right here, the pointed doorways, okay? And then all of these circles around here are arcs from point to point. You see how that works? All right, so again, in this green heart healing, heart to heart, with the Knight of Cups and the King of Cups, and by the way, the Queen of Cups was not a number in this reading. She came up in the time just now, but she's not in the reading. That's that Mary Magdalene energy. This is a focus on like the father and son here. In endings with big bird between them, which is coming up as the feminine, but in the Queen of Swords focus, not the Queen of Cups. The Knight of Cups emerald heart held in the sunset with your twin reflecting back at you, untying the knots in that electromagnetic grid, or the M's grid, Imana's field of view, or two diamonds overlapped like the Vesica Pisces. But the circles are actually diamonds, but you're just seeing arcs around them, as well as steeples. And by the way, the middle of the fish with the dot in the middle is an eye, which kind of, then reminds you of the pineal gland. And the eye, which is coming up as the eye to see Lucy. So Lucy in the sky with diamonds was coming up here. But to lose, so it's coming up as that negative energy of the dark Lu, and one C. The eye to Lucy. The eye in the middle of this, to lose, and C in the middle of the Christ energy. And then it was coming up as, two wrongs added don't make a right. And notice the right and left energy here. Two wrongs, coming up as the left energy, added don't make a right. But two multiplied, or two with chills, they're multiplying, okay? So if they're added, it doesn't make it right. But if they're two multiplied, or two with chills, and they're multiplying, make a right. The monkey in the middle, the fish of Christ. And on the golden, instead of the yellow brick road, is coming up as the golden white light journey instead to Oz, or O2, which is oxygen, the air that we breathe in and out at toroidal field. Inspiring the Knight of Wands with a love for life as the cosmos mirrors them with 12 faces of Eve instead of only 3D. In the dance of the 8, which is the sine wave, dancing through the electromagnetic grid, which then grid is coming up as God's, our ID. Leading the way with flame in hand, from dark to light, up the stairs to answer the call. The Page of Cups birthing the new in January's thirst, to review Akashic records, to see new perspectives, and hold space for mothering when you're blue, to be present with your gifts, magical pollination of the bee, for joy and happiness, what that stinger is for. The Emperor's roar, right? The Emperor, or the Emperor's roar is coming up as, the only one who's in control here is that source, God, creator energy. On the way to the GG, or the Golden Gate, the Steepled Gate, where you're invited to that Christ unity consciousness every day, to stand strong in the portal, like being in the doorway in a storm for protection. 2 pillars, 2 wings, and 2 flames, and an arc that is steepled, right? They're 2 as 1, with the monkey or monkey in the middle, which is that Christ energy. 1 to 1, hermit to hermit, or 9 to 9, and all to all. 1 for all, or number 14, all, and all for 1, or all in the number 41. One must go through the Emperor, and by the way, Emperor is EM of Imana, per roar. So the only way you can get through God, and the Emperor is actually coming up as the feminine God of the Pleiadians, the Emana, Emperor, right? So she is the masculine within the feminine, where the roar is the masculine energy, but she's seen as the feminine. So all for one, one for all, and all for one. You must go through the Emperor, or graduate through the 3 fiery gates of 4-4, 8-8, and 12-12, which is the Ram's Gate, the Lion's Gate, and then the Golden Gate, or the Centaur Gate. The survival of the 4s, the dreams of the crazy 8s, and the 12-12 of heaven on earth, where 24 plus 24 equals 48, which is the walking away and within, which 24 is Omega. So it's coming up as 2 Omegas, or 2 horseshoes, on the journey within. And who's known by the feet? Of course, Jesus is. So that was coming up as the 2 horseshoes and Mr. Ed. So just so you understand the numbers I was just quoting too, that's at the top here too. right? So the 3 fiery gates are the 44, 88, and 12, 12, and these 2 gates add 24, and then the final gate adds up to 24 too, which is the 2 Queen of Wands or the 2 Omegas. And I just have them upside down. But then the 48 is the 8 of Cups of walking away and within over here. Okay, so 2 Omegas on the journey within. Okay. So that is the Metatron read, and we're already at 40 minutes, so I probably am going to start another one for you, but I'm going to take this out right now so that it's not close up anymore, so you can actually see the pages, and I'm going to show you the pages. Let's see if it'll allow me to. It might not let me to now. So let me take that down. Okay, I'm going to turn the light on and see if we can get this back to... No. There we go. All right, so I want to show you these pages so you can see some of the all right, so this is where I started the read at the top there, and then I go down so you can see, you can actually have the read there. Okay, so you can see the circles that I was drawing. You'll understand my process a little bit better if you can see that. So, and then starting from the top of this page, and then going down to the bottom, and then we have this page as well. Oh, starting at the top. Okay. And then we have this page. Okay, and then this page. And that was it. Okay. So I'm going to come right back with my union read and my twin flame read as you see on the table there. So rise and be love, and I'll be right back. Take a deep breath and rise and be love. And please comment below. I'll talk to you soon. Back in a second. Bye.